So another Patreon exclusive video, this time about the Daniel Davis sequencers, which are great for beginners, but also quite fun for advanced users. There are two versions, as you can see. There is one with 8 steps and another one with 16 steps. There is also a quantizer in this collection and another new module that was added recently for saving snapshots. So let's start with the basic functions of the sequencer. So here I have a basic voice, I have a saw wave going through a low pass filter and a VCA, and I have an envelope controlling the VCA and controlling also the filter, and at the end there is Prince of Perception as a delay, but as you can see the mix for now is all the way down. Now as you can see on the sequencer there are 3 rows that we can use. I'm using for now the 8-step version, but it will work the same with the 16 steps version. It also has a built-in clock, so as you can see it's already running. I will use the CV output for pitch, for volt per octave, and the gates to gate the envelope. Right, and now I can start activating steps. So let's say you'll have 1, 2, 3, and 4. Or 5 actually. Right, I can also change the values of the control voltage that will in this case change the pitch. Right, and of course, as you can hear, by default, it's not quantized, right, to any scale, but for this we can use the quantizer. Again, in this collection there is a quantizer also called Quantify, and as you can see also here there are 3 rows, so it will work really nicely with the sequencers. Right, so if I make the connection, CV in, CV out, now I can choose a scale. Let's go, let's say with a CFGB flat, and open the attenuverter. It has also a built-in attenuverter, which is also quite useful. Right, let's also speed this up a bit. Let's say something like this. Right, and now we have a basic sequence, but maybe you can hear that there are still changes in pitch even when the respective steps are off. So this step, for example, is off, right? But the pitch still changes. This step is also off. Right? But the pitch still changes, and this is because of the release time, right, of this voice. It's long enough so more steps can sneak through it, right? If I take the release down, this is basically the sequence we should get, right? But I want a longer release and still get a change in pitch only together with the steps, and for this we have an option in the right-click menu. It's called Sample and Hold. If we activate this, the CV will change only on active steps. Right, so we can have a longer release and still don't have changes in pitch on steps that are not active. Right, but we also now we can change the way the gates work. Right, for now it's set to trigger. If I show you this on the scope, so the gates will output a short trigger. This is why I'm using here on the envelope the release. Right, but if I change this to continuous, this will keep the gates high as long as consecutive steps are on. So for example, here we have 3 steps that are on one after the other. So the gate will open here, will stay open until the last step. And now we need sustain for this. Right, you can hear it here. Right, if the note is the same. Right, so we can use also the continuous gates if we want longer gates. There's also a clock output that in this case I can use to sync the delay. Right, and now bring it in a bit. Okay, so here I have the 3 rows connected, of course, through the quantizer to 3 FM operators. And first of all, what we can do is randomize the CV and gates and see what we get inspiration maybe from the module itself. So in the right-click menu, we can randomize each row separately or randomize all CV knobs and all gates. Right, maybe I can randomize them again. Right, and get a nice sequence. Right, and now each of the rows has a dedicated clock divider. Right, this can be really interesting for creating harmony and all sorts of rhythms. So let's say that we will divide the second row by 2, so it will play twice as slow. Right, I can solo this also. Right, together with the first row. Right, I can divide the third row by 3 and get a nice polyrhythm. Right, this will be the first row and the third. Right, and then all together. Right, we can also start with a higher clock rate and then divide down. So if I take the speed all the way up, let's say the first row will be divided by 6. After 6 there will come 8 and then 16. Listen to this. So nice. So here I have the 16-step version of the sequencer. It's sequencing a few drums. I'm using here the commercial drum modules from VCV. So if you don't have them and you want to use Dispatch, just connect different drums to the 3 outputs here, the drums of your choice. Right, so there is a kick, a hi-hat, and a clap. Right, it's a modulation from the CV outputs. Right, I have here another 8-step sequence. This is sequencing a sort of a bass voice with kick all and the chorus from flag, again with some modulation. Right, so now there is the module I mentioned before, also sequel, right, which will save snapshots of the sequencer and then we can load them with a trigger or manually. You can also save them with a trigger if you want to experiment. But basically you save up to 4 snapshots and then you can load them either manually or with an external trigger. Now these are expander modules, so this is an expander module, so it has to be in this case on the right of the sequencer. Have a look at the light here. You see when it's close to the module it turns on, it means that now it's active. Right, so it has to be to the right of the module. I will do the same also to this bass. Right, so now it's basically connected. Right, and again, now we can save the sequences. So let's save the first slot with what we have now. I just click save here and save here. So now we have it saved. Now again, I can randomize things, right, on both sequences and again save the second slot. I will do this once again. Save the third slot. By the way, you can see that when I'm clicking randomize all CV and randomize all gates, the menu stays open. This is because I'm holding control, so the menu doesn't close. Right, this will be the third snapshot and then one more time. Save and save. So now we have 4 snapshots that we can recall basically. So this is the first one. Right, and I can have the second one here, the third one there. Right, so we have all sorts of variation, and again we can use an external source to do this for us. For example, the gate sequencer from Impromptu, it has also 4 channels, which is great. We can use each channel to trigger a different snapshot, right? So I'm going to use a clock division to run the gate sequencer, a clock division of 8, right? And I'm going to use, let's say, just 8 steps, no need for the whole 16. And now send the gate. So the first channel will go to the first load, second, third, and fourth, and I will do the same also with this base sequence, right? So we have 4 channels triggering the 4 different snapshots, right? And now each channel will load a different snapshot. So if I go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then let's say 2, 3, 1, or 4, or 1, 4 actually, right? Right? We get variation, we get a sort of a sequence even. Right, and like this you can create chains of sequences, quite useful. You can do this also with other sequencers, of course, with random signals. You can utilize also the save trigger inputs to save things on the fly. You can see that even though it looks like a simple sequencer, there are quite a few interesting things you can do with it, and it's all quite intuitive and beginner friendly. I hope you enjoyed this video and you will go explore this sequencer a bit. Thank you so much for your support. Cheers!